Hi guys, it's Amaya, your Miss Illinois Collegiate America, back with episode 2 of my series, Connect Beyond, where I sit down and talk with teachers and educators who are creating respectful environments and connecting beyond with students even in a virtual setting. This week, I'm talking with Mrs McMenamin, who is an advantage teacher at Plainfield East High School and the sponsor for the Black Student Association. Now, this episode is extra special because I myself am a graduate of Plainfield East High School and co-founder of the club that she is now a sponsor for. Hope you enjoy. Thank you so much, Mrs. McMenamin, for being a guest on Connect Beyond. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into a little bit of how we know each other and how our paths have kind of crossed.
My name, as you mentioned, is Mrs. McMenamin. I am a teacher at Plainfield East, where you graduated. I have been in the district over 20 years. I am an Advantage teacher, and the Advantage program is a credit recovery program. So students have failed a class or more than one class, and they're retaking their class online with me. And so my role is really to help motivate them and support them in any way that I can.
In my senior year, like she said, I did graduate from Plainfield East, the high school she teaches at. I founded a club, and at the time it was called the Rise Above Club. And it was geared towards African Americans, but of course we let anyone who wanted to join. And it was a place where we just talked about Black history, some of the things going on in our community, and just a place for us to create that sense of family and community within the high school. And when I graduated, I had no clue what the club would go on to be. I was hoping it would last past my time at East, but thankfully Mrs. McMenamin kind of picked up the club and completely just made it more than I could have ever imagined. So describe to me a little bit about that process of being a sponsor for now what's the Black Student Alliance, right?
Black Student Association.
Okay, yes. Black Student Association, and what you've been able to do with the club.
I had the privilege of being able to pop into some of your meetings when you held them your senior year. And so I knew how important it was to our students. And I knew that not only had you graduated, but the assistant principal had taken a role in a different building. So I just asked about it. And to be honest, I had no clue what I was doing. Obviously, never been a part of a BSA or a similar club. And so my first job was just to find students who were interested. And I was lucky enough to find a couple that I had the previous year that were energetic and excited and wanted to take the club to the next level. That makes all the difference. And so I've tried to keep it very student-led and student-centered. It very much is driven by not only what's going on in the world at the time, but also just what they needed. So we have had really, really good meetings on cultural appropriation and defining it and what it meant for us. We've had meetings on just discussing beauty and embracing beauty, and not just the beauty standards that that the media puts out there, and really loving like Black curly hair, and that there often is there's stereotypes against, you have good hair and you have bad hair, and just knowing that your hair is beautiful. And they seem so simple, and yet some of those conversations have gone, they've just been very deep.
That's amazing because, like I said, I didn't know what the future of the club would look like, and that was really our whole goal. I mean, the title of this show is called Connect Beyond, but that was our goal, to connect beyond with our peers outside of the traditional classroom setting or outside of sports or anything like that, and just have an open forum for us to talk about what we're dealing with or going through and what's happening in our community. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for leading that charge and taking it over. Being in Plainfield, Illinois, there weren't many Black educators. And so when I left and when Mr. Freeman left, I truly didn't even know if staff would be interested in still having a club like that at East. So it means the world to me. I've been able to, pop into some of your meetings and still talk with the students who remember me, which is crazy. But it's been awesome. It's been a great joy. So let's hop into kind of your day-to-day responsibilities as an advantage teacher and how you're able to connect with students on that level, and some students who may feel just defeated or discouraged because they're in that program.
Well, I will say that my role this year, due to COVID restrictions, is vastly different than what it looked like the past few years. It does make a huge difference to have a student in front of you, to be able to see and connect you. And we are in a hybrid schedule now, so I have them, if they're in person, 5 mornings a week. Prior to COVID, we always had fruit or snacks of some sort in the classroom. I don't know everyone's background, whether they don't have a chance to eat or have the opportunity to, but knowing that we had snacks in the room made a big difference. We tried to get to know the students. I have a wonderful teaching assistant, and we would try to get to know the students on a personal level. And we are not social workers or counselors, but just being able to recognize, like, oh, you have a t-shirt with a band on it, or I see that you're in this activity, and just taking a few minutes to connect before they get into work makes a difference. The students are on a computer, taking notes, doing their lesson, and we're monitoring or supporting. So it is very different. And we try to just notice if a student responds differently, if a student seems down, and just taking the time to ask. I have had students share with me, like, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. And, we have to make little choices each day, like to push them to keep working, or to say, well, you know what, we're probably not going to get a lot out of you today. So, you can put your head down for a bit, or maybe go down to the nurse, but let's take a break and we're going to pick up tomorrow, which we'll just have some catching up to do. But my day is really filled with those kind of choices. How do I interact with students? How do I support students? The atmosphere in our classroom should feel like a family, like we're here, we enjoy each other, we're supporting. Just a lot of, you're doing it, I see you working, keep at it. Or, we haven't seen you this week, I'm glad you're here. How are you doing? We really miss you when you're gone.
Yeah, that's so important. And I love that you mentioned just being sensitive to students' needs and their situations a lot of times. And I've had some teachers who, it's like, you come in the classroom, let's get to work, let's get it done. But the reality is, and I'm sure it's changed because of COVID, like, we don't know people's situations. We don't know their backgrounds, like you said, and we don't know what they may have endured just to get to school or just to log on to the computer. So I love that you're just making that conscious effort to go out of your way to connect with the students and just encourage them. So the Miss High School America pageant, which is a pageant that I represent, they have a national platform of BRAVE. It stands for Building Respect and Values for Everyone. So the question that I kind of pose to each of my guests is, how do you create a respectful environment in your classroom and also combat bullying within your classroom?
I'm going to take those separately, but they do kind of go hand in hand. I try to, even prior to being an advantage teacher, let the students know, like, I don't know your story. I may share some of mine with you, but we all have a story, and please know that I never want to disrespect you. I truly think that our students, they feel whether or not they are cared for, whether or not they are respected. And it's so easy for teachers to get into like a power play. I told you to do this. This is my expectation. Don't question me. And it's so easy for our students to feel like we are coming at them. Why are we calling them out for doing this or that, when there are much more subtle ways to get their attention that do not involve disrespecting them. I have been fortunate enough to have conversations with students about how they felt like I disrespected them. I asked them to put a phone away quietly. I came back around, they still had it out. And I said, you're going to get, we call them hero or whatever, but you're going to have a consequence. And I've been able to talk to students about what I saw and what they saw, and I remember talking to a young lady who said, look, I had this going on and I was trying to finish up and put it away. And, you told me that I was getting a consequence. And in my perspective was, I gave you a significant amount of time. I warned you quietly. And so we were able to talk about what the expectation was. And even, I understand your point of view, and I'm sorry that you felt like I was attacking you. So I really do think that respect goes both ways with teachers and students, and that I need to be the adult in the classroom. My teenage students, they don't always know how to regulate their emotions. I need to be the adult and recognize it. Yeah, you may have said something disrespectful. We're going to roll with it. We're going to keep moving. I may ask you to take a break, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to make fun of you or embarrass you or call you out in any way. Kids, everyone, they're going to pick up on how I treat my students. Setting that tone really makes a difference when it comes to being in the classroom and feeling comfortable, and setting the tone that we're not making comments to put other students down. Some students are stronger at this subject than others. It's okay. We're all at different points. I think the most difficult part is that a lot of bullying takes place outside the classroom, or it's cumulative. So it's not like that one comment might not seem like a lot as the teacher. I can ask, I can tell you to knock it off. Maybe the student who was bullied is going to laugh because it's a natural reaction. It kind of makes it seem like it's not a big deal. I think the difficulty is that a student who is truly bullied often gets negative comments or interactions throughout the day, throughout the week, and we don't always see it. And so developing a relationship with our students and letting them know, like, we care about you. I notice when you put your head down, when you're not responding. I notice that you haven't been kind of doing what I've seen from you, that makes a difference too, because students need to trust that you care to even share what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things that I love about just like the BRAVE motto is like building that respect. Once you have that respect for, first of all, yourself, and second, for your for your students, and you build those values within the classroom, then bullying, it shouldn't happen. And hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it does, I love that you have those steps in place to combat that and let the students know this isn't tolerated in our classroom, and we're a family and we all have the same goal of just getting our work done and being successful in the class. And so let's just do that without bringing each other down in the process.
Exactly.
Any final words that you have? Any advice for teachers looking for ways to kind of connect with their students within this virtual environment, or even hybrid, or some key insights that you've learned from being a teacher?
Positives go a long way. When I make contact with parents, I try to always start with positives. If I have students that they've started showing up for classes and maybe their attendance hasn't been great, we're going to celebrate that. Like, I'm so glad you're here. It's Wednesday and this is your third day here, and that's fantastic. We try to just celebrate little successes and say, we're going to focus on right now. It's hard. Teaching's hard. I mean, life in a pandemic in general is hard, and it's hard on our students. And I think sometimes even just sharing, like, hey, I didn't want to get out of bed this morning, and all of you are here right now, and I'm proud of you for making that choice, makes a difference too. And just giving them grace and giving yourself grace. Like, nobody's functioning at our top level right now. None of us, and so just recognizing, like, yeah, I would expect more from students in a different type of year, but right now, I want them to know that I care about them, that I see, potential, and we want to continue that drive for learning.
Giving yourself grace is one of the things that I've had to do. As a college student myself, we've been virtual since the beginning of the pandemic. And so thankfully my professors have been very understanding, but in the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, I have this deadline. I have to get this work done. And I had to take a step back and be like, your life just completely changed. You went from being on a totally different time zone on a different coast. I was on the East Coast. Now you're home. Now all of your both of your parents are here. And, like you said, you're not functioning at your best. So I'm glad that you are one of those teachers who understands that and who is willing to accommodate your students as well. But more so than that, thank you so much just for taking the time to speak with me. You have been a light within my high school journey and now college. I only had you for a short time, which you reminded me. And at the time, her name was Mrs. Hernandez, but I think her last name is different now.
Yeah, so I co-taught with Mrs. Torres for years. Your Rise Above meetings were right outside her classroom, which is how I was able to sneak into them sometimes.
You've been great. Just thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. And thank you for just going the extra mile for your students through the Rise Above Club and just students in East. We've definitely been impacted.
You're very welcome. And I always look forward to seeing all the amazing things you're doing as well, Maya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great talking to you. Wow, you guys, what an awesome conversation with Mrs. McMenamin. She is just amazing and such a positive light in the Plainfield School District. As always, thank you so much for watching another episode of Connect Beyond. Be sure to follow my title holder account on Instagram at Miss Illinois Collegiate America and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Sincerely, Sinclair, to know when a new episode of Connect Beyond comes out. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.